There are a number of pre-med students you'll meet in undergrad. Here are a few of them. Number 1. I've wanted to be a doctor since I was a kid. More or less, this student slid out of their mother's womb with a Littman Cardiology 4, a lab coat, and probably holding a scalpel. And although these students loved getting inoculated as kids, they didn't realize they wanted to become a doctor until they were 5 or 6, when they spent hours scavenging the streets for roadkill and dissecting it on their front porch like some kind of sick modern version of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. They talk endlessly of how they want to become the world's greatest cardiothoracic surgeon, and although you admire their confidence and passion, it makes you wonder how many hours they've actually shadowed in the OR, or if they're just delusional from binge watching too many episodes of Grey's Anatomy. Number 2. The C-average student. This squid has been told countless times that they'll never get into med school with the grades they have. Nonetheless, this person still has a profound belief that they'll get in just fine. They feed their denial with rumors of an upperclassman who apparently got into med school with a 2.9 GPA, a 486 MCAT score, and 20 hours shadowing a veterinarian. Although you respect that they don't give in to the haters, you can't tell if they're ignorant, in denial, or just plain stupid. I mean, surely someone who has failed the last 2 organic chemistry exams and has no better than a B- in genetics doesn't think they have a shot of getting in, right? Well, you're wrong. They do. You can usually identify this student by some key characteristics. They will usually be wearing the same bleach-stained t-shirt, gym shorts, and flip-flops with socks. Furthermore, the hygiene on these students makes you wonder if they should switch to online-only classes, because you can literally see the stink coming off of them in a cartoonish fashion. At this point, I would like to make it clear that these students wouldn't even qualify to make it into a Caribbean school, let alone a well-respected university. And no, underclassmen from my college, I was not a C-average student, even though you'd like to think that. Number 3. The Perfectionist. Ah yes, the Perfectionist. What list would be complete without the egotistical maniac who does everything better than you and belittles you with a subconscious tone of pity? This person probably already has an in at Harvard, Brown, or Stanford, but that won't stop them from taking every scholarship, internship, or job that could give you an upper hand in the application process. I mean, of course they got picked over you. They scored 90th percentile on the MCAT and had a 4.0 in undergrad. The only thing impressive on your application is that you can shotgun a beer in 3.5 seconds and went through your entire undergraduate career without getting an MIP. You go insane constantly comparing yourself to them, never quite accepting that you're just simply not as good as they are. These students are typically introverts who have a last name as a first name and a first name as a last name. They're usually too self-centered to realize that everybody is annoyed with them because they set the exam curve to a 99%. I mean, couldn't they have just missed a couple extra questions to help everyone out? I mean, come on! Number 4. I'm in it for the money. Sadly, this self-centered a-hole exists. And although we'd like to assume everyone is going into medicine to help others, there's always a handful who want to make fat paychecks and live a Gucci Mane lifestyle. These students usually fuel their motivation by tying a dollar bill to a string and hanging it from a stick attached to the top of their head. They're like hamsters, never really understanding why they keep running in the same direction, but are too simple-minded and self-indulged to realize this field isn't for them. They only have one thing in mind. Yes, that greenish, filthy paper that probably has been put in more dirty places than a newborn's pacifier. Unfortunately for them, they'll soon realize there are much better ways to make money that don't involve a 100-hour work week and an initial investment of $500,000. You'll normally find these students spending most of their time in the middle of the student union, looking up highest paying physician salaries and doing anything to get the attention they crave. Although it may be concerning that these students are trying to go into medicine, be rest assured, they'll eventually get burned out by the daunting task of med school and be forced into primary care, adding to the ever-growing field of patient neglect and physician corruption. Number 5. I just want to spend my life helping others. Or as I like to call him, the people person. Here it is, the one we all strive to be even though we know darn well we'll never be selfless enough. Let me put it to you this way. The people person is going to be the ideal doctor. The type of doctor that will give 90% of their money away and sleep in a shed next to the hospital. This type of doctor has every detail about a patient's life documented in their own personal library. If you type characteristics of this person into Google, a picture of Jesus or Oprah would appear. The thing about the people person that is truly amazing is the hours they've racked up doing community service. Between running the soup kitchen on the weeknights and raising thousands of dollars for Make-A-Wish Foundation, they just might be up for a Guinness World Record. The people person is such a remarkable specimen that their presence makes you contemplate if you should spend your time differently. And although we all admire this person's ambition to help others, their overwhelming personality makes you avoid them, mostly because you don't want to feel guilty about spending all weekend binge watching The Office and smashing a tub of that oh so delicious double fudge ice cream. Number 6. The shortcomer. I'd say the best expression that sums up this undergrad student is, "Oh, honey." This student is probably one of the hardest working people you've met. Unfortunately, they just can't seem to get it right. They're constantly coming up short. You can't tell if they have a case of overwhelming test anxiety or if they spend all those hours in the science building pretending to study. They constantly compare test answers to you, wondering where they went wrong. And it only really makes you feel like crap. Especially when you know darn well that you studied a couple hours the night before and called it good. By junior year, you start to worry for them. Surely they would have switched majors by now. What are they going to do after? Do they have a backup plan? Have they even thought that med school is probably not going to happen? Is the dean their uncle or something? Just their presence makes you unsure of yourself. Lastly, number 7, the legacy. This student might be the most iconic pre-med student in the list. The legacy was destined for greatness. Their parents were doctors, their grandparents were doctors, their great-grandparents were doctors, their great-great-grandparents were doctors, and their great-great-great-grandpa was a barber who participated in bloodletting. Their whole family has gone to the same university since it was a single-floor hospital sometime in the early 1800s. Everything comes easy for the legacy. I mean, their parents have had a 30-year plan written for them since the day they were conceived, and their room is so full of academic awards, it makes you wonder if they should already be scrubbed in for surgery. Your jealousy of them turns into resentment and causes you to block them on Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, but shortly after you realize how ridiculous this is and out of guilt offer to take them out for coffee. The legacy almost performs as well as the perfectionist, and don't be surprised if they're best friends, since the legacy's mom regulates who can and can't get close to her baby at all times. This type of micromanagement from the parents makes you want to bring a bottle of tequila to school and force them to drink every last bit just to loosen them up from the overwhelming expectations. Well, I think that sums up the 7 types of pre-med students you'll meet in undergrad. If you're not a part of the family, I encourage you to slap that subscribe button. Comment down below. I want you guys to tell me what type of pre-med student you guys were, or whether or not you know somebody that was a type of pre-med student. Hit that likes button and share if you want. Anyway, student physician out.